For 500 years, Earth was silent. There were no wars, no armies, no weapons. Alien ships watched from the sky. Giant black triangles with no windows. They floated above every city. No one knew what was inside. The Zarn Empire said they brought peace to Earth. But it didn't feel like peace. It felt like a cage. The people of Earth were not allowed to build machines for war. No tanks, no fighters, no space travel. Children were taught that war was evil, that Earth must never fight again. But deep inside, some humans remembered. One of them was Jace. He was 18 years old, tall, thin, with black hair and curious eyes. He lived in New London, a clean city with white towers and soft music playing in the streets. Everything looked perfect. But Jace didn't trust perfection. He often skipped school to explore the old places, the ruins beneath the city. Places people had forgotten. One day, Jace followed a broken tunnel under his school. It was dark and cold. His small flashlight shook in his hand. He found a door, a steel door with strange marks on it, not Zarn symbols, human ones. Words scratched into the metal. For Earth's last hope. Jace pushed the door. It opened with a loud creak. Inside, there was a giant room, covered in dust. In the center sat something large, dark, and shaped like a ship, but it was buried, halfway in the ground. Jace walked closer. He touched the cold surface. Suddenly, the ship lit up. Blue lights blinked. A low hum filled the room. Jace stepped back in shock. Then a voice spoke. Not loud, not soft, just clear. Human detected. System awake. Defense protocol active. Jace stared at the ship. What? What are you? He whispered. The voice replied, I am Ironmind, Earth's last warship. Just then, alarms began to scream above the ground. In the sky, the Zarn. Ships moved for the first time in decades. Red lights flashed. Loud sounds echoed through the city. The people looked up in fear. The Zarn had detected something. Something they had feared for 500 years. A human warship. Jace ran. He didn't know where to go. He climbed out of the tunnel and hid in the alley. He could hear the panic in the streets. Drones flying, people crying, and in the distance, the sound of thunder. No, not thunder. A blast. A real one. The Zarn were firing, but not at humans. At the ground. They were trying to destroy the ship Jace had found. Back in the secret room, the ship came alive. Cannons lifted from the floor. Shields powered on. The voice of Ironmind spoke again. Human aggression detected. Defense mode unlocked. And then the ground shook. A hidden cannon under the city fired into the sky. A glowing beam struck one of the Zarn patrol ships. The alien ship exploded. People screamed. Not in fear, but in shock. For the first time in centuries, a Zarn ship had fallen, not from another alien, not from an accident, but from a human weapon. In space, far above Earth, the Zarn Council watched. One of their leaders, a tall gray figure, with glowing eyes, said, The humans have awakened the old machines. We must act. Now. Another one replied, We should have destroyed Earth when we had the chance. But it was too late. The humans were no longer sleeping. They had not forgotten who they were, and now one of them, a boy named Jace, was the first to awaken the past, the first to hear the voice of the old machines, the first to fight back. Earth was changing. The silence was over. And the Zarn were afraid. Smoke still rose over New London. The Zarn ship was gone, destroyed by a weapon Earth was not supposed to have. People ran in the streets. Drones flew in the sky. The world was no longer quiet. But deep below the city, Jace was not. Running. He was standing inside the dark room, staring at the warship he had awakened. The voice of Ironmind echoed again. You have activated Protocol Omega. Defense Command is now online. Identity required. Jace didn't understand. He was just a student, not a soldier. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. I just touched the ship. The voice replied, You are a genetic match. You are the son of General Rain. Jace froze. His father died years ago. People said it was an accident, but now a warship said his father was a general. Before he could ask more, a door behind him opened. 3 people walked in, 2 men and a woman. All wore old military jackets with no symbols. Their faces were hard, their eyes were sharp. One of them spoke. You woke it up, didn't you? Jace nodded slowly. The woman stepped forward. We are the Keepers. We protect Earth's secrets. And you just lit the biggest one. The Keepers took Jace through a tunnel. They moved fast. Who are you? Jace asked. We are what's left of Earth's defense, the man said. The Zarn banned all weapons, but some of us didn't listen. They reached a huge underground base. It was filled with old machines, tanks, drones, robots, covered in dust but still working. Jace stared in shock. You built all this in secret? The woman nodded. Your father helped us, before the Zarn found out. Jace looked at a large metal door. On it, words were written. The Arsenal. Inside were weapons unlike anything he had seen, flying drones with glowing eyes. Mechs taller than houses, rifles that could shoot through walls, all hidden, all waiting. The Keepers explained everything. The Zarn had lied. They didn't want peace. They wanted power. They kept humans weak by banning war. But the Keepers knew one day, humans would need to fight again. Now, that day had come. In space, the Zarn gathered their warships. A fleet of black-spiked vessels flew toward Earth. Their leader, High Lord Velkarn, gave the order. Crush their cities! Burn their machines. Make them fear again. Back on Earth, the Keepers prepared. They powered up old shields, woke up AI, loaded drones. Iron Mind, the warship Jace found, was just one of many systems buried across the planet. Jace stood in front of the ship, still confused. I'm not a soldier. I can't lead a war. The woman Keeper looked at him. You don't have to be a soldier. Just be brave. That's enough. Iron Mind's voice spoke again. The Ark Protocol needs a human. Mind, a key. You are that key. Jace stepped forward. He touched the ship again. This time, it opened. Inside, blue lights glowed, a chair in the center, screens on all sides. He sat down. Suddenly, he could see everything. Cameras, satellites, drones, guns, all waiting for a command. His mind linked to the system. He didn't know how, but it worked. He could feel the machines. A small drone lifted in the room. It turned to him. Awaiting orders, Commander, Jace whispered. Defend Earth. In the sky, the Zarn ships entered Earth's orbit. They sent a message to every screen on the planet. Surrender now, or die. Resistance is forbidden. Jace looked at the screen in front of him. The Zarn were here. He gave the order. Activate defense grid. Suddenly, the sky over New London changed. A blue dome of energy rose from the city. Cannons appeared from rooftops. Drones flew out from buildings. The people stared in shock. The aliens attacked. Laser blasts hit the shield. Explosions shook the ground. But the shield held. Jace sent a message back to the Zarn. You told us war was over, but you were wrong. We remember who we are. The first human cannon fired. A powerful beam hit a Zarn cruiser. The ship fell like a burning star. The second shot followed. Another Zarn ship exploded. In just minutes, humans had taken down 2 alien warships. The Zarn had expected fear. But Earth was fighting back, and Jace was leading the charge. The sky over Earth burned. Alien ships circled the planet like vultures. Their lights glowed red. Their weapons charged with energy. The Zarn fleet was angry. 2 of their ships had been destroyed by human weapons. That had not happened in 500 years. Now they wanted revenge. Jace stood inside the command room of Iron Mind. Screens showed the world, cities preparing for battle, people running, drones flying, human shields rising like blue walls in the sky. He didn't feel ready. He wasn't a hero. He was just a boy, but the machines listened to him. They followed his voice, and Earth had no one else. The Zarn launched their first strike. 5 warships moved toward New London. Each ship was larger than a building, covered in black armor, armed with plasma cannons. Inside, the Zarn commander snarled, "Erase the city. Break their hope." The first beam hit the shield. The sky turned white. The ground shook, but the human shield held. Then, Jace gave the order, fire at will. From hidden bunkers, human weapons roared. Anti-ship missiles flew. Old cannons powered by fusion cells launched from secret hills. Dozens of drones swarmed into the air like angry bees. The first Zarn ship took 3 hits. It tried to rise. Too late. A human railgun fired. Boom. The alien ship broke in half and crashed into the ocean. People watched from rooftops, from windows, from streets. Cheers broke out. For the first time in centuries, humans were not helpless. They were fighting, and they were winning. But it wasn't easy. Another city, Old Jakarta, was not so lucky. Its shield had not activated in time. Zarn lasers burned the towers. People screamed. Thousands died. Jace saw it all on his screens. He gritted his teeth. "We need more defense drones, now!" The AI inside Iron Mind responded, deploying drone battalions, ETA 60 seconds. Hundreds of drones, shaped like metal birds, shot out from underground. They moved fast. They fired faster. Above Old Jakarta, the sky turned into a war zone. Drones spun through Zarn fire. They crashed into enemy ships. Some exploded on impact, taking the aliens with them. A voice came through Jace's comms. It was a woman, Captain Roya, a keeper leader. "We can't hold them alone," she said. "They're bringing reinforcements." Jace's hands shook, but he didn't stop. He opened a secret code on his screen. A red button flashed. Project Thunderstrike. He hesitated, then pressed it. From deep underground, a massive cannon rose. It was hidden beneath the mountains for centuries. Long, heavy, deadly, it charged with power. Then it fired. The beam shot into space. A blinding line of energy. It pierced a Zarn mothership, cutting it in half. The explosion lit up the night. In space, the Zarn Council was shocked. "How did they do that?" one asked. "They were supposed to be broken." Another leader, older and colder, said, "We waited too long. They rebuilt in the shadows. They remembered war." The council sent a new order. "Call the Vracs." Back on Earth, Jace watched the enemy retreat. But he knew it wasn't over. He could feel it. Something worse was coming. The people of Earth came out of hiding. They saw the broken ships, the fallen, metal, the smoke. But also, they saw victory for the first time in 500 years. Humans had drawn first blood. Jace stepped out of Iron Mind, tired, weak, but standing. People around him started clapping, then cheering. He didn't know what to say. Captain Roya placed a hand on his shoulder. "You gave us hope again," she said, but Jace only looked at the sky. He whispered, "They'll send more, stronger ones." She nodded. "Yes, they will." In deep space, far beyond the Zarn, the signal was sent. A dark swarm began to move. Insect-like ships with sharp claws. The Vracs were waking. They hated humans even more than the Zarn. They didn't want peace. They wanted extinction, and they were coming. Far from Earth, in the cold black of space, something terrible moved. They were called the Vracs, a race of living machines with sharp claws, long tails, and teeth made of metal. They had no faces, no voices, only rage. Long ago, the Zarn used the Vracs to crush other worlds. Now they had called them again, this time for Earth. Back on the planet, Jace sat alone inside Iron Mind. He had saved New London. He had helped stop the Zarn's first attack. But the price was high. Cities burned, families lost. The war was just starting. Captain Roya entered the room. Her face was tired, her eyes red. "We need to talk," she said. Jace stood. "What is it?" She took a deep breath. "The Vraks are coming." In space, Zarn ships opened a portal. From the other side, the Vraks came through, hundreds of them. Their ships looked like giant black spiders. No lights, no signals, only silence. Even the Zarn soldiers felt fear. The Vraks were not allies. They were weapons. They killed everything, even their own kind, if told to. On Earth, the Keepers met. In the hidden base, Jace sat at the center. "They'll tear us apart," said one Keeper. "No shield can hold them," said another. Captain Roya looked at Jace. "We need help." "Real help." Jace frowned. "From who? We're alone." She shook her head. "No, we're not." Then she opened a file. A hologram appeared, showing alien faces. Some looked human. Others had scales or fur or strange glowing eyes. "These are the old allies," Roya said. "Before Earth fell, we had friends. Other species who hated the Zarn. Some are still out there." Jace leaned closer. "Can we reach them?" She nodded. "If we send a signal, if we ask for help." Jace thought. Hard. The Vraks were nearly here. Time was short. But there was one chance. "Do it," he said. "Call them." The signal went out into space. It carried Earth's voice across the stars. A message in simple words. "We are under attack. We remember the old alliance. We ask for aid. Humanity is rising again." For a while, nothing happened. But then, ships appeared. Not human ships, but alien ones. The Valari, tall beings with blue skin and silver armor. The Ruck, short lizard-like warriors with fast claws. The Alari, floating mines in glowing glass. They came in small groups at first, then in fleets. One Valari leader, Commander, Kezra, spoke to Jace through the screen. "We heard your call, human, and we remember Earth. We will fight beside you." Jace smiled for the first time in days. Earth was not alone anymore. The Zarn were shocked. They had not expected this. Alliance with humans? Impossible. They tried to stop the other aliens. They sent warnings. They threatened war. But it was too late. The Vraks were already moving toward Earth and toward the new alliance. Now no one could stop the war. On Earth, people gathered in every city. They saw alien ships land beside human bunkers. Soldiers of different species stood shoulder to shoulder with humans. Children pointed at the aliens with wide eyes. Elders cried. They had never thought they'd see unity like this again. Inside Iron Mind, Jace stood at the command chair. He watched the screens as alien fleets took positions. He spoke to the system. "Open global comms. I want to speak to everyone." The AI obeyed. Across Earth, every screen turned on. Jace's face appeared. "This is not just about Earth anymore," he said. "This is about freedom, about life. The Zarn wanted us weak. The Vraks want us gone. But we are not weak. We are many. And together, we fight." The people cheered. Aliens roared. The war had become something bigger, not just a battle for Earth, a battle for the future of every free world. Then the warning came. A Vrak scout ship entered Earth's orbit. It didn't stop. It didn't ask questions. It just fired. The sky turned red again. Jace gave the order. "Fire back! Earth's weapons, Valari ships, Ruck claws, Elari energy blasts." All struck the Vrak ship at once. It fell in seconds. Everyone on the planet saw it. The first Vrax was dead. But this was just the beginning. More were coming. Thousands more. And now Earth would face its biggest battle yet. Together. Or not at all. The sky was filled with fire. Above Earth, thousands of ships, Vrax, Zarn, and the alien fleets fought in space. Their weapons lit up the night like a storm. Ships exploded. Drones fell to Earth. The ground shook with every blast. Jace stood, inside Iron Mind, his heart pounding. He watched the battle from his screens. Humans, aliens, all fighting together. But it wasn't enough. The Vrax were overwhelming them. They didn't stop. They didn't feel fear. The Zarn had joined with the Vrax, and Earth was now surrounded. On the ground, explosions rocked every city. New London's shield was beginning to break. People ran for their lives. Soldiers and aliens fought side by side, but the enemy was too many. Jace's voice echoed inside the command room. "We need more time. We need reinforcements. We need—" "Something bigger," a voice answered him. It was Captain Roya. She stood in the hidden base with the Keeper leaders. They had only minutes left before the Vrax reached the planet's core. "We can't hold them much longer," Roya said. "We need to launch the final weapon. You know what I mean." Jace hesitated. He had seen the weapon. It was the last of its kind. The Earthmaker. It was a massive, experimental ship designed to destroy worlds, built in secret. It could fire. A blast that could wipe out the Vrax in one shot, but it was also dangerous. It could destroy Earth if used wrong. "We don't have a choice," Jace said. "We'll have to risk it." He gave the order. The Earthmaker rose from the ground. It was massive, shaped like a huge black whale. The ship had been hidden for centuries, waiting for the day when Earth would need it most. It moved into space, followed by a fleet of smaller ships. The crew, a mix of humans and alien allies, worked quickly to prepare the weapon. "Ready the blast," Jace's voice crackled over the comms. "We aim for the Vrax main fleet. Aim for the heart. The—" Weapon charged. Tension filled the air. All eyes were on the Earthmaker. The Vrax fleet was closing in. They were ready to attack. "We can't fail," Jace whispered to himself. In space, the Vrax swarm came closer. Their ships were sharp and dark, like the shadows of death. The Zarn led the charge, sending wave after wave, but just as the Vrax were about to strike Earth's final defenses, a bright light filled the sky. It was the Earthmaker. The weapon fired. A beam of pure energy shot out like a lightning bolt. It cut through the Vrax ships, one by one. The light spread, faster than any ship could move. The Vrax fleet was torn apart. The Zarn ships tried to flee, but they too were caught in the blast. The Earthmaker's weapon didn't stop. It kept firing, its power rippling through space. The Vrax were no match for it. Within seconds, the entire Vrax fleet was destroyed. Back on Earth, the people watched from every city. They saw the light in the sky. They heard the roar of the blast. And they saw the ships, the Vrax ships, falling like burning stones. For a moment, there was silence. No more explosions, no more gunfire. Then, cheers. Humans and their allies cheered. They had done it. Earth was safe, for now, but Jace knew the battle wasn't over. The Zarn were still out there. The Vrax were gone, but the war was far from finished. In space, the Zarn High Lord Velkarn watched his fleet fall apart. He had underestimated humanity. He had thought Earth weak. He had thought the Vrax were unstoppable. But the humans had surprised him. He turned to his command ship. "Send the message. Tell the galaxy. This is not the end. Earth is only the beginning." On Earth, Jace walked out of the Iron Mind control room. He stood in front of the people. Aliens, soldiers, civilians, all standing together. They had won the battle. But the war was far from over. Captain Roya walked up to him, her face grim. We won today, Jace, but we're not finished yet. The Zarn will come again. Jace nodded. He knew. But something inside him had changed. He was no longer the scared boy who had stumbled upon a secret weapon. He was the leader of Earth's defense, and he was ready for whatever came next. "We will be ready," he said. The war was not over, but Earth had won its first true victory, and that was enough to show the galaxy that humanity, no matter how small, no matter how young, was not to be underestimated, and the Zarn would learn that soon enough. The sky was quiet again. For the first time in weeks, no enemy ships filled the air. No explosions shook the ground. The people of Earth looked up and saw stars instead of fire. But peace was not real. Not yet. Jace stood inside Ironmind. His eyes were tired, but his mind was sharp. He watched as Earth's defenses rebuilt. The shields were stronger now. The cities were rising again. The people were no longer afraid. But Jace wasn't calm. He remembered what the Zarn leader said before fleeing. This is not the end. Earth is only the beginning. Jace knew what that meant. A bigger war was coming. Far away, deep in the galaxy, the Zarn gathered. Their fleet was broken, but their pride was not. High Lord Velkarn stood before his commanders, his face twisted with anger. "These humans were not supposed to rise," he growled. "They were chained for centuries, beaten, silent." A cold voice answered him. "They are rising now. Others, follow them." That was true. The galaxy had seen Earth's victory. Other races, once silent and scared, were watching. Some were sending messages. Others were preparing weapons. Humanity's stand had lit a fire across the stars. On Earth, the Keepers met one final time. Captain Roya stood beside Jace. Alien commanders sat around them. The Valeri, the Ruck, the Aleri. All of them had lost ships. All had lost soldiers. But none of them had lost hope. "We started this war alone," Roya said. "But we're not alone anymore." Jace stepped forward. "We need more than defense," he said. "We need to take the fight to the Zarn. We can't wait for them to return. We must strike first. Together." The room was silent. Then Commander Kezra of the Valerie stood up. His voice was strong. "You have earned our trust, human. We will follow." One by one, the others agreed. An alliance was born. Not out of fear, but out of purpose. And it would be led by humans. The next days moved fast. Massive shipyards were built around Earth and the Moon. New ships, stronger and faster, took shape in the sky. Drones flew across the planet, scanning, building, protecting. Young people joined the defense force. Old soldiers returned to train them. Earth had become a fortress and a forge. Jace watched as the first human-flagged warship rose into orbit. It was named the Unbroken. "We were broken once," Roya said beside him. "Never again." Then, something strange happened. A small ship arrived near Earth. It was old, rusted, barely flying, but it carried a flag. A human flag. And inside was a message. "We are survivors from Sigma 5. We escaped before the Zarn came. We've been hiding for years. We want to come home." Earth wasn't alone. Across space, small human groups had survived on hidden colonies, long thought lost. Now they were returning, answering the call. The rising tide was not just military, it was hope. In the final meeting before the counterattack, Jace stood before the United Fleet. Dozens of races, hundreds of ships, millions of hearts. He looked into the screen. His voice steady, clear. "They tried to break us. They thought we would stay silent forever. But we remembered. We remembered who we are. We are the children of Earth. We rise when pushed. We fight when cornered. And we never give up." Across the fleet, soldiers clapped. Some cried. All stood tall. This was not just a battle anymore. This was a movement, a rising tide, as the fleet moved toward the stars. Jace stood on the bridge of the Unbroken. He watched the Earth slowly fade behind them. Captain Roya walked beside him. "Are you afraid?" she asked. "Yes," he said, "but I'm also ready." She smiled. "Then that's enough." The stars opened in front of them, a path into war, a path into freedom, and at the center of it all was Earth, once weak, now leading, once silent, now shouting, once broken, now rising. Years passed. The war with the Zarn became a distant memory for many, but for those who lived through it, the fire never died. Humanity had changed. It was no longer the silent, beaten race that hid behind walls. It had become a symbol, a spark, of rebellion across the galaxy. The flag of Earth now flew on many worlds, not as conquerors, but as protectors. The Galactic Alliance, once ruled by fear, now stood on a foundation of strength and unity. Not all the old races liked it. Some called humans dangerous, others called them reckless. But all of them watched, because humans had done what no one else dared. They had fought back and won. They had made the first move when the stars turned dark, and that move had changed everything. Jace now lived aboard the Unbroken, which had become more than just a ship. It was a home, a symbol, a memory. He stood on the deck, older now, his hair touched by silver, his eyes still sharp, still scanning the stars. Captain Roya was now Admiral Roya. She commanded the largest peacekeeping fleet in the galaxy. She still trusted Jace with the most difficult missions, and he always said yes, because Jace had never stopped fighting, not with weapons, but with belief. Across the galaxy, human schools were built. On Aelari moons, inside Ruck Mountains, even deep in Valari oceans. They didn't teach just human history. They taught hope. A little girl from a ruined world once said, "I want to be brave like humans," and she did. She became a captain, one of many who flew under a united banner. On Earth, the old cities had become new again. Statues stood tall in the gardens, of fallen soldiers, of human and alien heroes side by side. Children played without fear. They laughed under the same sun that once saw war. Above them, satellites watched the stars, not for attack, but for signs, signs of new life, new friends, new beginnings. Some say the Zarn still hide in dark corners of space, but they are quiet now. The fear that once ruled the galaxy was gone. In its place was something stronger, respect. Not because humans were the strongest, not because they had the biggest ships, but because, when no one else stood, they did. Jace once wrote a message, stored deep in Iron Mind's heart. We were not born to lead. We were not made to fight. We were pushed, tested, broken. And in that fire, we rose. If you find this, if you're afraid, if you feel small, remember this. We did not win because we were perfect. We won because we refused to stop. That message is still sent across the stars today, a fire in the dark, a light for anyone who feels forgotten. And so the story of Earth did not end with war. It began after it, a story of rise, of courage, of never giving up. Because humanity had one gift no enemy could understand, the power to rise again. And now, no species was safe from that kind of hope. The end.